Hello, everyone. It's Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo along with Benjamin Lesnick for another Bensday with Batgirl and Ben.
Hello!
Hey, I feel like we're doing these all the time now.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I have such a busy schedule with doing recordings these days. Last night when...
You have like 12 shows now?
Yeah, right. 12 shows a week, 2 on Saturdays. How does that make sense? Don't forget to tip the waitress. No, it's... I was so relieved last night when 2 of the guys that I do D&D with couldn't show up, and they were both instrumental, so I had to call it. They're all like, no, let's do it anyway. I'm like, you guys are in a boss fight, and you just lost both your healers. Not going to work. It's like going...
You can finish it very quickly.
Yeah, it's like going into Operation Pitchfork without even one single Bengal carrier. Ben, can we please borrow a Bengal carrier for Operation Pitchfork?
Ask Mom.
Ask Mom? Mom's not going to say yes. Mom doesn't even give me the time of day anymore. What about Dad? So you guys have been really busy hard at work on these 2 patch releases. And most of the content that we're getting is a more micro look at what we've seen at CitizenCon. Is there a reason behind that? Is there a reason that you're not showing us more of what else is going on in these patches, ships, or whatever else is coming to us?
You think like the stuff we put on ATV?
Yeah, well, it's amazing stuff, yeah.
Oh, okay, I think I know what you mean. One of the benefits, and what's the opposite of a benefit?
Liability.
Liability. Well, one of the effects of the updated ATV is that we spend a lot more time on any one particular piece, so we have to plan them out much more in advance. That doesn't necessarily go that well with the patch schedule, which we have one of the best patch processes in the world. We don't ship until we're comfortable. So there's a little bit of a conflict there. So we divide by studio. This week was Germany, so we got to look at a lot of the stuff they're doing, but that's not specific to the next patch. And I think you'll probably continue to see that for a while. When we go to UK, you'll see Squadron stuff that is more polished, I guess, but not really. I mean, we still show it ports and all. It's just it gets a lot harder to drill down on a particular patch. 6 months ago, it would be Sandy and I, we'd kind of talk about what's going on with the patch. The new directive is we have to show what we're talking about. So we do segments that take longer. It's weeks and weeks of production for a particular piece, and we've kicked off 6 at once. It doesn't always necessarily go exactly with what's happening right now.
So I had a question about transparency I was going to ask you tonight, but I guess these micro looks into how the patches are being made is a way that you're actually becoming more transparent. Would you say that?
I hope so. I hope that the moral arc of the universe, arc of the universe edges towards transparency. So we find better and better ways to do things. We'll never be perfect, but we'll keep trying. Okay. I thought that, and I take no credit for it. I think all I was a talking head in it, but the folks who worked on the Road to CitizenCon video, I think that very much got the spirit of transparency that we've been aiming for all along. And I would love to see more of that.
Chris making the hard call.
And it was such a hard call. And that's one thing we haven't shared so much in the past. The effect on the team and how the team feels as strongly about this stuff as you do. I have been through so many situations where we feel like we're the farthest men from home because we know we're not going to ship on a particular day. We look at it, okay, we need another day of patching, we need another day of patching, and we are the first ones to be disappointed by that.
Wow. All I could say is wow. That Road 2 video was it was enlightening to see what was going on behind the scenes, and great when I got to see myself at the end, but it was good.
That's how I felt too.
I felt great to see myself standing there on stage with so many people like dead exhausted after working all day. But
you guys did an incredible job.
It was the most fun I've had, but most exhausting. But I don't know. I wish I could convey to everybody that watches my show and doesn't watch my show how incredibly wonderful all the devs are there. When Jeremiah started talking to me I had Forrest come up to me twice and talk to me before he couldn't talk anymore. Had some opportunities to speak with Chris Smith, and everybody just wanted to. I mean, they didn't hold back, but they didn't give away anything that they weren't supposed to. They gushed about what they were working on. It's just a wonderful way that you guys interact with us.
It's an incredible environment here. I work with just the best people in the world, and it's people who care about what they're doing. You know, I would say very few folks I've known are here for the paycheck. We're here for this opportunity to do something really cool.
It's weird I have that mic in my face. It's not even the one I'm using. Wow. This one's not going well. At least, like I said, at least I know my own name for this one.
This is our second take, by the way, and she did not know her name in the first one.
Yeah, it was like, I work and I go to school, and I like video games. I have no time for this stuff.
Yeah, you are very busy.
Yeah. So I want to ask a couple of questions that I guess I didn't get a chance to ask in our last take because I was thrown off by things that were going on. When did it become apparent that? How was it presented by the team in Frankfurt when they finally figured out, hey, we could do procedural planets now?
Well, you know, the community's reaction when we got up on stage at Gamescom and we said, hey, we can do procedural planets. That was pretty much the reaction of the rest of the company. It wasn't any one particular moment where, I think people kind of imagine Star Citizen as this, like, glowing blue ball we're all standing around it and we're watching it grow. It's actually many, many tiny gardens, and at various points you connect them together. So I think we kind of each had a moment where we connected with that team and we were like, holy. It was something else. The work they're doing is stuff I didn't dare dream possible at the start of this.
Now this adds in some other issues, which is now they can make a lot of planets, and now you have to populate them and make them living, breathing, and workable.
Yeah, and that team, they are well on their way. You hear us say procedural planets V1, V2, V3. It's all because they have it all mapped out. Here's the next level of stuff we have to do to get this working. Here's the next level of stuff we have to do to get this working. If folks saw ATV today, they saw some more of that. They saw some of the orbital mechanics and the light stuff. And it just really gets me because when we started this out, I remember the questions we used to get at Wingman's Hangar was stuff like, how will you do day-night cycles? Like, oh, that's in the CryEngine. Or how will you do weather? Well, we're going to do weather eventually. We're gonna work it into the planets because that's important. Now, so much of that stuff it's not even a system we have to build because it naturally comes off of the world they've created. Not only are procedural planets making the game 1,000 times cooler to play, they're also making it easier to develop. It's wonderful.
That's awesome, because I remember watching a 10 for the Chairman back when it was not too long after Chris started doing them, and somebody asked about procedural planets because it had been a stretch goal that had been surpassed maybe 2 months before that, and he was like, oh, we're going to launch without it, we're going to have the worlds that we build, and then it's going to be sometime in the distant future. And he said distant future in 10 for the Chairman, and now...
Yeah, that's Chris Roberts saying distant future. That's something.
Yeah. And this could be the distant future from 2013, but, it's not really, yeah.
I think it speaks to how seriously we took and we still take those stretch goals. We said we're going to get together a team to investigate procedural planets. We did exactly that with that money, and boy, did it ever pay off in ways we hadn't expected.
So it seems like this next year is going to be a fleshing out of most of the systems. At the end of next year, do you feel like if 90% of what was in those slides that Chris presented, do you feel that you're getting close to being beta for Star Citizen, which is not Squadron 42, folks? That's a totally different game. This is our open world, which beta would be feature complete, but still work to be done, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what.
Well, there's so many different definitions. I mean, some people say alpha is feature complete, and stuff just doesn't work. In beta, things are working but not right. It varies.
So it would be what you guys say it is.
Excuse me. Getting over this isn't kind of cold. We are close. I would say we'd be close. It's almost a day question. But we'll have a whole bunch of professions. We'll have almost all of the ships at that point as we go through those slides. And I don't want to attach it to a particular date because Chris didn't and I wouldn't. But we'll be close at that point. And
we'll all have a hurricane in our hangar.
A what?
I'm sorry, a eclipse. I mean a 600.
You mean an eclipse?
I used to have an eclipse, but it wasn't made by Aegis. It was made by Mitsubishi. Fastcart wants to know...
Wait, you think the Aegis eclipse will fit in a hangar?
I don't know what an Aegis eclipse is. All I know is it was that whiteboard thing that was leaked. Oh, God.
I think the fundamental problem with this show is the fact that if there's one question I can answer and be right about, it's these concept ships that I had a bunch to do with coming up with, but I can't talk about them. So
wait, but you said, okay, we're going to get to that in a few minutes. All right, so you can't talk about when, but I do have a when question from Fastcart, and we love Fastcart. Fastcart wants to know, what is your favorite when question?
I think my favorite, one of the questions you get so many times is, of course, you're guilty of this because you have to be, is where you kind of come up with another way to ask the when question. Like, well, this is not a when question, but, in the next 3 weeks, is this going to be out? That sort of thing. There's another level from that where they're disguising their actual question with a when. It's like, when are the whales going to be put in the game? We didn't say we're going to do that. So it's that assumption. That's my favorite when it's some feature.
How can we have a space sim without space whales? Let's be serious.
I know. I am.
I mean, we have worms on planets. We could have whales in space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So.
I mean, okay. So is there spice on that planet? No.
No, that seems like a totally different thing and not connected to this.
Okay, we'll stop. All right, so
my living room has a dune.
Let's go to
shrine.
All right, let's go to a different universe, Star Citizen now. Let's talk about Toxic Boss, who wants to know, we know there will be procedure weather-based off the biomes, but will there be seasons on some planets? For example, we go to one planet 1 month, then a few months later we go to it, it's covered with snow.
That is one of those things you'll see in the Procedural Planets roadmap. We will get there at some point. It's not in right now, but it's on the list.
All right, and then from Griffin Gaming RPG, the V2 version 2 Homestead demo opens up with an orbiting shot of Lear 3. Our hero lands on the planet and exits his ship in body armor with no helmet. As a result, we assume the planet has oxygen. According to the star map, Lear 3 is uninhabitable. Usually this means it cannot sustain life due to atmospheric conditions, or because conditions on the planet are extremely hostile. Is this correct?
It is. I wouldn't take too much away from the continuity of the demo because it is just a demo at this point. One question we get a lot is this going to be in the Stanton system? We're going to put some of the stuff in the Stanton while we're building up to 4.0. It's not going to stay there permanently just because we have to test these different planet types and station types and location types.
So when you move a planet from one star system to the other, doesn't it throw off all the gravity? Never mind.
Yes, it actually does. But no, you can consider the lore about Lear, the lore Lear, as it is, canon, and we will, when you actually visit the Lear system, it'll all work correctly. Although I would say it's a bit of an assumption to say that just because it's uninhabitable means that you can't breathe or you need a suit or something. It could be like there's micrometeorites that strike it 3 times a day and you happen to be there when they're not. I think there's going to be lots of planets that are horrible death traps that you can still land on and have adventures.
Okie dokie. That sounds great. I can't wait to see some of the moons too. I could imagine driving around on one of the moons and seeing the different landscapes there. Maybe having a base set up.
I'm looking forward to finding quiet
Low
little
G
places
combat.
away from the rest of the universe.
Okay. Oh, wait. All right, what's the minimum viable product? I was trying to check out my questions on... I guess Twitter's not a good place to get questions. We're going to put that down. Sorry.
Right?
Well, we know through a leak on the boards, through a contest announced by Alexis, that there is a ship called the Prowler coming out.
Yeah, I guess we can't hide that one. Prowler.
And I did get you to talk about the Prowler, and you didn't even know it 3 weeks ago when we were talking about the Polaris, or 2 weeks ago.
That's how the size of whether it fits in the Polaris, I remember.
Yeah, and you said it was flat and wide, flat, wide.
Wow.
So this is an interesting ship to me because it's a Treveran ship. That's our first look on their design. I mean, this will be their design mentality.
Very distinct. It's, I will say I am the world's biggest worrier. I think everything is going to go terribly every single time. So I give myself an ulcer the night before every single ship launch, just thinking, oh, this is the one people are going to hate. This is the one people are going to hate. This one is really cool. It is definitely going to have an audience.
Is it flat like the Bat plane?
What do you comment on that?
I mean, is it flat like a Cylon?
The Drothy.
Yeah, doesn't it look like a Drothy? That's a Cylon. That's Scar, actually. So I'm interested in this one, but it's another one of those that falls under the category of, I guess, boarding / dropship.
Yeah. One of those carrying Marines into battle, C-47 type thing.
So do you foresee different missions that this could do? Could it carry cargo? Could it fight its way out of a bind? Or is it just carry these things, be escorted, and drop Marines here?
It's pretty one use. I imagine people will find all sorts of crazy things to do with it, but it's very dedicated to this task, in design at least.
So if it's dedicated to that, so we have a hoplite coming out. This is a concept ship. I'm hoping it's less than a hoplite. Hoplite's a pretty expensive ship. So,
Well, hoplite's a full Vanguard.
yeah.
We actually don't have a price yet. We will announce it once it's done, but
A week before.
at least a week before. We kicked off the pricing just yesterday. Todd Pepe sent it over to Pete Mackey, who does our pricing matrix for all the ships now, and he's busy figuring out what each individual part is, which is especially interesting for a Treveran ship because it has a lot of unique parts.
Do you mind answering a question that I did an interview with Cameron Wilkie. I love Cameron. He's such a good find for you guys.
Yes, we were really lucky to get him.
He's a wonderful man and really fun and really entertaining when you talk to him. And we had an interview last week and we were talking about ships, and he was saying that if you look at the Polaris, it's like a 95% discount when you buy it with money. Because in the universe, something like that might be 20 million UEC. Do you guys?
Maybe a lot of UEC.
This is the first indication we have at how much ships are going to cost, since Chris said that it would take you about 60 hours years ago. This is no longer the case, but he said it would take you about 60 hours to be able to save up for a constellation when there weren't all these other ships. So is that about right? Like, he said it might be like 20 million UEC?
I don't have the exact price, and I wouldn't trust the numbers at this point yet either. But essentially, yeah. It's a bit of a sliding scale. Think of the Aurora as something very simple. It's a nice car. And then you have something like a Polaris Corvette. That's the equivalent of, a light destroyer or something, which is millions and millions and millions of dollars. So,
okay, that makes sense.
An expensive giant capital ship is going to be much, 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 much many multiples of an Aurora or a Constellation or something. Not a Constellation, but an Aurora.
So if I want to buy a lot of Auroras, I buy a Polaris, sell it in game, and I could buy 1,000 Auroras or 1,000,000.
I guess that's not the stupidest idea I've ever heard. I mean, I wouldn't encourage it, but
It is a stupid idea.
the bigger the ship is, the more it's discounted at this point, I guess is what.
All right.
Where you can take it from that.
So we went in that direction, and I didn't mean to put you in a direction of trying to guess what the pricing is going to be, because there's no way to know that until the game is out. Economy, you already have someone hired to figure out economy when it goes live, right?
Yeah, we're well on our way there.
All right, so at this point we have Prowler, we have Redeemer, we have Retaliator, and we have the Vanguard Hoplite, and another ship that we don't know. Well, no, it's not another ship. It's something that you could do in the Retaliator. It's the Titan thing.
Oh, yeah, we were doing a Titan module for the Retaliator, which is a variation of the dropship one, but less space for people, more space to recharge your big Titan armor.
All right.
That's I think that's the big remaining Retaliator module.
So with all these drop ships, I've got a Marine, 2 squads of Marines, 8 Marines. Which ship do I take on which mission? Like, what are each one of these ships really good at?
Well, I think the Prowler launch is going to answer some of that. Another part of it is sort of our philosophy of having introductory variants leading up to full-time, dedicated, more expensive, role-specific ships. So the Hoplite is kind of the if you take exploration, you can start off with the 315P, which is the variation of the 300, and it's a low-cost ship, all things considered, and it gets you started in that direction. And if you want to be, a full-time, super hardcore explorer all the time, you'll want to work your way up to a Constellation Aquila, and then to a Carrack, and so on in that direction. With boarding, ground ops sort of things, we want to have kind of the same pantheon of ships. So the Hoplite is a variant of an existing ship. It lets you do that without kind of leaving your safety zone. You still have this fighting ship. It's still a Vanguard.
Sorry, you can go. I had someone in the background. You could still do that with a Vanguard. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were timing me out. So, and then you would move up to a Redeemer or for particular missions, a Prowler. And
particular missions, like storming the Death Star? Oh, wrong game. Sorry. No, I think that's good. So we have a diverse set of ships that have the same mission in different situations.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
good.
And
they fulfill that mission to different degrees.
I forgot the cargo, not the cargo, but the passenger version of the Argo dropship, kind of, sort of.
Sort of. It certainly reminds me of those Starship Troopers dropships, but it seems a little bit clunky for landing under fire and all that. Okay.
No guns, but shields, I think, too. Something like that.
Shields.
Yeah. It has shields. All right, good.
I think the Argo is really going to be one of the ships that you use in a pinch no matter what. It's your utility player.
I wonder if... I didn't see it have an arm to go out there and fix things. That would be cool. So you have this live stream coming up on the 18th and another one coming up in December, which I think maybe December is too far out to tie you down on what's coming in that. But we know that you have this, at least a ship going on, and I know from talking to you that this one should be about ships. What about 2.6? What about other pieces of the game? Will we see that there too?
Well, you'll certainly get an update. I can't give a timeline for 2.6. I don't have one. It is our next patch. I think we have a lot of folks who didn't go through Arena Commander and through the early 2X patches, but our process is that we patch not to go with a particular event, but to go when that patch is ready. So if it's ready tomorrow, it'll go out. If it's ready a year from now, it'll go out.
Don't say that, Ben.
it won't be a year from now. I'm willing to say that.
It's gonna be a meme.
We do it when it's ready, not when we have an event. I mean, our anniversary live stream is to kick off the big ship sale. It's very ship focused right now. It's we have this really cool theme. It's this, and we mentioned it in the newsletter recently. It's this air show sort of a thing, and we're gonna use that as a way to tell you what we've been doing and share a bunch of really cool work. But you will certainly. I mean, we had an update on 2.6 today on Around the Verse, and you'll have others. You'll certainly, if it's not out, if it's not up by the time the live stream is up, you'll hear what's going on. It's a process, but we'll share it as we go along.
Do you think if it's not out by the live stream, Chris might start doing that weekly update for us to know what's going on?
That'd be his call. The weekly updates are somewhat problematic because it takes a producer, 5 to 8 hours to put that together each week, which takes them away from producing and slows down the process.
Oh, God, I understand that with all the extra shows I do.
That's one of those balance things. We would love to have that for every single thing we do. It's just not. It's more, the body is willing, but the flesh, and the mind is willing, but the flesh is weak. You just don't have the bandwidth to share that all the time.
All right. If this is going to be all about ships, is it going to be like one big ship show?
Shipapalooza?
Yeah, well, Shipapalooza. I don't know. I mean, ship shape. I mean, is it going to be one big ship shape with all different ships? Or are we going to get a list?
Be like any of our big live streams, sort of a variety show feel. And we have all sorts of fun stuff to do. We've got the contest. We have a bunch I cannot talk about yet. People will have a good time.
All right. So concept ships just come out when they're ready to go on sale from now on, right? You're not going to give us a list of ships to choose from anymore. You're just going to drop in the ones that you think need to be in the verse?
Well, we have our next year of concept ships figured out there, so it's not going to be another poll like we used to do with the polls that we kind of did a year-long poll with the Sherman letters. That taught us a whole lot about what people think they want to do in the game universe, and we've been using that data since then. That data is still very important to the ships we build now. We have a slate of 7 or 8 ships that we'll be doing across the next year, and then after that we may look at more polls, or we may just, you never know.
Are there any more ships bigger than a Polaris coming out? No.
We've got a couple for Squadron, but no more big cap ships that we have plans for sale at the moment.
All right. So next year, I only ask you this because as director of ships, I know that you have a lot to do with the concept idea of the ship.
I'm very involved at the start of the ships, and then smarter people take over.
Yeah, so the little runabout that comes with the 890 jump that we'll be seeing next year, is that something we could take to the Murray Cup and race it?
I think you'll be hearing more about that soon.
All right, cool. Just wanted to know. And
85X.
80X85 or 85X. I can't wait for the. I mean, every time I go to Grimhex and I see the racetrack there, I wonder, are we going to see that go live at some point soon? And that would be cool. Yeah, I know, you can't tell us. So you've got a lot going on, but you had even more going on last week, and you did a show with me, you did a show with INN, and you had a really big GoFundMe fund.
Yes. Yeah. We managed to save all the art from Wing Commander Academy, and I'm so grateful to you and INN and Sofie Grll, everybody who helped support David Ladyman. It was incredible. I'm so glad it's over. Sometimes I'll be sitting around thinking, man, we've gotten so huge. I miss those early days where it was bubblegum and shoelaces trying to get things funded. And no, crowdfunding is terrifying, and you feel bad the whole time you're doing it. I never want to crowdfund anything.
But
ever.
You really didn't crowdfund. You were like Craigslist. You sold things that you had.
Yes,
you gave up your paw.
Yeah, I did, but it was worth it. We're going to save a whole lot of stuff, and it's certainly going to go to a good home.
So how many ships do you have to draw?
Like 100?
100?
So that's...
How many have you drawn?
None so far. That'll be this weekend, figuring out all the logistics for getting folks their rewards. And just, this is my first real weekend to breathe. The Wing Commander Academy thing kind of multiplied quickly. I didn't think it was something I had to do immediately, and then it suddenly was. I'm just absolutely blessed that everybody helped me out. It's wonderful that it's over and that the fun part gets started. Next weekend, we're going to go take we're going to rent a cargo van and we're going to go pick up 31 boxes of old Wing Commander artwork. It's going to be something.
That's awesome. Now, could you confirm a Arena Commander dogfight between Mark Hamill and John Rhys Davies for the live stream? No.
I cannot confirm that. I think that it's one of those unwritten rules of publicity that you do not make actors play your video games.
No. I'm sure. They're like, whoa, this is what I did that for?
In fact, I remember I worked on Wing Commander Arena for Electronic Arts. It was their Xbox Live Arcade shooter.
I remember it.
And, oh man, when you think about it, I'll get back to that in a second. But we actually talked to Mark Hamill about doing like a commercial. And the sticking point was that he did not want to play the game. He was worried it would make him look, out of touch or something like that. And I totally understand that. No one looks good playing a video game, especially on camera. So I totally get that. But the realization I just had is, you hear people say troubled development, like you saw like the PC Gamer article, there's all these hurdles we've had to take to get here. I've worked on 5 different projects in the game space over the years. Every single one of them was troubled by that definition. And on something like Wing Commander Arena, being troubled meant that we cut out all the cool stuff. We didn't ship any of the single-player stuff we designed, the stuff that made the game worth doing. I worked on the Wing Commander. I worked on a port of Wing Commander for the Game Boy with a company in Italy that developed it. I did all the game flow and stuff. And the trouble there was that we finished the game. Electronic Arts said, okay, technically you do have the contract to release a Wing Commander game for the Game Boy, but it specifies it has to be the most recent one, not the original. You have to redo all this to be Wing Commander Prophecy instead. So we actually had to build 2 engines, 2 entirely different games, and it cost twice as much money. I'm just thinking about, just from my tiny experience, I'm not a professional game developer. Right? I guess I am now, but I was not. Just every project I've ever been involved with has been so much worse than Star Citizen in terms of the behind the scenes. It's interesting.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. That was an awesome story. That was one of the most disappointing titles I ever played was Wing Commander Arena.
It had a great manual, though.
Oh, did David Lederman write that one, too?
No, I wrote that.
You did? That's why it was great, right?
No, Wing Commander Arena, we had such high hopes when we went into that. We had this, 30-mission single-player campaign. I think it's all out on WC News now. You can download the actual text we put together for it, and EA just kept coming back and saying, nope, you have less money, you have to cut this. All they wanted, their entire definition for the game, it didn't have to be Wing Commander, it had to be ships shooting top down, because that was really big in Japan, and they thought it would be big in the US the next year, because they were still operating on how things work in 1984.
They make so many bad decisions.
Yeah, it's interesting, because you have people who, and I guess this is true in other places, you have people who don't understand gaming running the show, and it's different here. It's wonderful.
Okay, well that is different. I like that it's much more transparent. I get frustrated when things don't come, but then I put myself back a little bit and say it is an alpha. Things have to have technology built around it, but I like the way that you guys are doing it. I like the way that you're building this game. And I think I do come down on you a little bit when things aren't being conveyed to us, but in the grand scheme of things...
That's totally right. We're never going to be perfect. Yeah. We need the feedback. People should be critical.
Yeah, and they can be. So don't ask too much, People will be critical. I just think at times when there seems to be a longer stretch between things, the communication should change to not regurgitating the same stuff. But, I like the same stuff, so I'm conflicted in what I want. But sometimes I just want to hear, you know what? We know that we're not going to be done right now. We're working on this, and this. I loved when Chris did those weekly updates. When it was getting close. But I guess that was a different time period because that was the release of the PU, you know?
Yeah, when we did that for AC, we did that for Starbrain last year. I'm sure we will have cause to do it again. It's just, it's a balance.
All right. Well, that was my one thing, but I really appreciate you spending time with me, Ben, twice tonight.
Of course.
And if I didn't mess that first one up, we would have been fine. Okay, so we've got, I just want to tell these guys, we have Allie coming on Lightspeed Lunatics on Tuesday at 9 o'clock on twitch.tv/The Base Radio. That's a live show that we then collect the live shows recording and put into my stream sometime later. But we still want you to see that live because eventually we'll be raising money for charities for that.
Pretty cool.
Next week, I don't know if I'm going to want to push you to earlier in the week. It depends on information and stuff. But I have surgery on Tuesday. I should be good, although maybe on Percocet. But I should be good to go on Thursday. I think I should be.
Should make for a good show. No. And by the way, I know I said this last time, but yeah, we'll be with you.
Thank you.
Everything goes okay.
It's just it's not a biggie, but it's not a little one either. It's just the end of a journey. That's all.
My favorite surgery memory. I've had about 45 eye surgeries over the years.
45.
It's awful. I have a genetic condition, but I remember waking up from one once, and after every surgery, I would have to stay head down for months. And so you basically wake up like this, and I remember you Grgle, you're coming out of the surgery, the anesthesia. And I hear my eye doctor, Dr. Von Fricken, he says, "Ben, how are you?" And I'm like, "It hurts," or something, something like that. And he turns, I guess he turns, I can't see anything. He goes, "Nurse, get him," blah, some medical thing. And this is the only time I've ever heard a nurse say this. She replies, "Doctor, that's a pretty big dose." And he goes, "Ben's a big guy." And that is the last thing I remember for 3 days. I woke up and I was back at home in my own bed.
3 days. My big surgery, I wasn't even out for 3 days. I woke up like 10 hours later, and then it was just like morphine high. Yeah, I won't have anything like that this time. I think I'll be leaving with like Advil.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, that's how they get you. They get you at the pharmacy. Yeah. Well, I guess we have quite an interesting couple of weeks coming up.
I think so. This should be our last quiet weekend. And then
bar citizens everywhere on the 18th
it's so cool.
of November.
One of the best things I think that came out of CitizenCon was that sense of community everybody had, and everybody's replicating it everywhere. It's incredible.
We have one here in Atlanta on the 18th, and I think that's going to be a viewing party, and that's going to be a Battle and Brew in Sandy Springs at 5 p.m. And so that's good for us. And I will be there, and Sofie Grll will be there. So if anybody in this area wants to go see us, that would be great.
I will say, if folks are doing viewing parties for the November live stream, let me know, because we'd love to, do a remote or check in with you or something.
I'll make sure that I have some kind of remote connection with me.
Yeah, sometimes we can Skype somebody in.
That'll be good.
Let us know.
We'll FaceTime.
Love to include people everywhere.
Okay, good. Thanks, Ben. All right, well, I'll keep you appraised on which day next week, and I can't wait to see your lovely bride on Lightspeed Lunatics. If you don't mind hanging out with a bunch of people that drink.
Oh, she can hold her liquor.
And curse a lot. You guys don't look
She can do that, too.
Okay, all right.
I don't curse much. I grew up never cursing, so she did not grow up that way.
I love your wife. She is so awesome. Allie is awesome. All right. Well, Ben, thank you very much for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me, as always. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Even though I put you through 2 of these tonight, I really appreciate it. All right. And with that said, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.